I'm here to talk about nearshore water quality in coastal Hawaii. So the Integrated Coastal and Ocean Observation Act was signed into being in 2009 by President Obama. And the reason for the act was to increase or awareness and observation of the ocean along our coastlines and the Great Lakes, and also to address issues that are related to the ocean that coastal communities may have. What is PAC IOOS? So I'm gonna, jump back here. So the next slide asks, what is PAC IOOS? And before I do that, actually, let me go over the yellow dots that we have here on the slide. So on this slide, the yellow dots are the location of the different IOOS stations, the 11 that we have around the US. So we have 3 on the East Coast, 1 in the Great Lakes, 1 in the Caribbean, 1 in the Gulf, 3 on the West Coast, 1 in Alaska, and 1 in the Pacific. And the one in the Pacific is PAC IOOS. So PAC IOOS is one of 11 IOOS stations that monitor coastal waters within the US or for the nation of the US. PAC IOOS is centered here at University of Hawaii. And we have several different labs and agencies that we partner with to form that or come under the PAC IOOS umbrella. The Nearshore Water Quality Group is one of the labs at UH that is under the PAC IOOS umbrella, and we focus specifically on water quality. The lab is run by Dr. Margaret McManus. We have 7 sensors here in Hawaii, 5 on Oahu and 2 on Maui. And we have 5 sensors in the Insular Pacific, American Samoa, Marshall Islands, FSM or Micronesia, Guam, and the Mariana Islands. The locations for the sensors here in Oahu, we have 1 in the Aloi, we have 2 in Waikiki, 1 in front of Hilton Hawaiian Village, and the other in front of the Waikiki Aquarium. We have 1 in front of Wailupe and 1 by Copahead Marina. The 5 sensors that we have, the 7 sensors that we have total in Hawaii include 2 others on Maui. So 1 in Kahului Harbor and the other 1 is in Kihei.
So what do the colors represent?
For which slide? The previous slide?
Green and red and there's a scale or something.
Oh, no, well, the colors, this is just a screenshot of the image when we first go to our website and you call up the filter that shows you where our sensors are. And so typically the first parameter that comes up is temperature. And this scale was just taken, it's just a result of the filter itself. So I'm going to go later into greater detail into one of the slides that shows you the parameter as it will show up. So this is just a screenshot just to show you the location. Yeah. So these are the ones that we have on Maui. They said Kahului Harbor and Kihei. So why is nearshore water quality important? For the most part, the majority of us, our interactions with the ocean tend to be coastal. You know, not many of us are going to be out in the deep ocean. Not many of us are going to be going down to, you know, some trench somewhere, some abyssal trench. Most of us are going to be going to the beach, going out on a boat, or dealing with corals or something that's coastal related. So nearshore water quality is very important. 1, because the coastal regions tend to be the place where most of us interact with the ocean. 1. 2, it's a source of food and livelihood for many of us, and it is the home to many of our coral communities. The water quality group, we use 3 different types of sensors to monitor the water quality in coastal regions. 2 of them are from Seabird Electronics. 1 is a 16 plus, which I have, which is there on the table. I'm not supposed to leave this here. This is there on the table. And then the other 3 here are YSIs that we have on Maui. What do the sensors measure? So in the first picture, first image you have over here on your left is the Seabird 16 Plus, and it measures conductivity and temperature. So it's a CTD, the main body, so conductivity, temperature, and depth. within the instrument itself, there are electronics that converts conductivity and temperature measurement into salinity. Then we have on the side here a fluorometer that measures chlorophyll and turbidity. The sensor in the middle is our Seabird 37 SMP. It's simply our only a CTD, so it measures conductivity, temperature, and depth. And again, it converts conductivity and temperature into salinity. And then we have our YSI that we have. This is a picture from Kahului Harbor. And the YSI measures conductivity, temperature, and depth. So it's a CTD. And then it has four other probes on it. It also measures chlorophyll, turbidity, dissolved oxygen, and pH. And all these parameters are important for us to understand what is happening in the coastal regions, in our waters in the coast. So the overall infrastructure for how we get data from the coastal region back to our lab. Oh, sorry, one of our little labels here is off. So we have a sensor in the water. That sensor is collecting data. Then the data gets sent through our I/O cable or data cable to a modem that we have on site. So this is our weatherproof box. For the most part, it's weatherproof box. Sometimes you have a catastrophe and it fails. But we have a weatherproof box with a modem in it, and that modem sends the data back for here in Hawaii, it's via Sprint, Sprint network, back to servers that we have on campus. And the data is updated, or we collect data every 4 minutes, and the overall server is updated every 20 minutes. So it's in near real time. So what are the water quality parameters that we measure? What are they used for? What's the purpose? Why do we even measure those parameters? So chlorophyll and salinity and turbidity measurements can point to nutrient input. So whenever you have heavy rains, I was just discussing it with one of the guests. Whenever we have heavy rains, for example, up in Manoa, the aloi will get flushed with runoff. And so all the, whether it be sediment or nutrients that's coming down from the valley, it could be the golf course or from some other location, will get funneled through the aloi and into our coastal region. And I don't know if you guys have seen like the brown water warnings, that plume that is emitted from the aloi will either go based on wind and wave activity, will either go towards Ala Moana or go towards Waikiki. So when we measure chlorophyll, if there's let's say a spike in chlorophyll or spike in turbidity and a drop in salinity, then you know fresh water is being inputted into the system. More than likely it's from rain, so heavy rain, and it's coming down and flushing into our coastal waters. Temperature and turbidity can be used, those measurements can be used to help us assess the health of our coral communities. Or coral reefs are very sensitive to temperature, salinity, and pH changes. And so these two parameters in particular can help us understand or give us a context for what's happening to our corals in our coastal communities. And depth measurements can help in certain cases, in particular when we have tsunamis. And we may or may not see, I guess in the last few, it wasn't like, you know, this huge wall of water coming and smashing us, but we did see significant changes in sea surface heights, and we're able to pick that up on with our sensors. So accessing our data. So we have a wide array of parameters that we measure, and we have a lot of data that's available to the public and to researchers and other agencies. Our website is currently being updated, but for now, it is what I have here on the screen. And when it is updated, our outreach coordinator will send out a notice. And I'm pretty sure if you go to the website, after it's been updated, the old one will redirect you to the new site. So how to access our data? There's several ways, or two main ways. One is through Voyager, and Voyager is an interactive Google Earth platform, which I'm going to show you in an upcoming slide. And then we have our focus area. So there are two ways currently that you can access the data. So this is Voyager. If you guys have used Google Earth, you can navigate to anywhere on the planet pretty much. And for our sensors, you use that Google Earth platform to navigate to a location where our sensors will be located. And then from there, you can tunnel down further to get the parameters or the data that you're seeking. So for example, once you open up Voyager, you go to the upper left-hand corner and you will click on, go to upper left-hand corner and you click on the type of location you want, city or an island or a region. And then from there, you go and you choose a more specific location. So if you go to island, you choose Oahu, for example. Then you go to the left-hand side, which has our filters. And so you choose, in our case, water quality. And after you choose water quality, you choose a particular parameter, and the parameter will pop up, as you see here in the dialog box. And you'll have that scale here, which what I did for that first image was just to take a screenshot of this without going through the filters 3, 4, 5. And so that's why you saw the scale that was up there. So typically the parameter and the scale will come up. So if it's temperature, you'll get a scale for temperature, or if it's turbidity, so on and so forth.
So the area by the aquarium is much warmer than the others? Is that what that's saying?
Well, we don't have the other ones up yet. So it's just giving you for that specific location.
Oh, so just looking at the red star versus the yellow and the green star.
Oh, no. So the coding on the color is not, that's just the color scheme for each location. So it's not tied to the scale. That's what you're asking for. Oh, okay, so it's not tied to the scale, no. And so you'll get the parameter, the dialog box will pop up, and then you can tunnel down further into the data archive if you wish, if you want to get long-term, so a week, a month, or in some cases we have data that goes back to 2008. That's for the IOOS, so you can get all that data the public has access to. So I'm going to give you an example of how the data can be useful. So in July 2014, we had a significant rain event. And as you can see from the NOAA site here, it kind of gives you the amount of rainfall. It's from a rain gauge that's further up in the valley. And it sort of gives you the amount of rain that fell. And then on the bottom, you see the data stream that came from our sensor in the IOOS. So you can see the date that the rain event occurred. And then in our data, you can see the response of the different parameters that we measure to that significant rain event. Now, at the time, when we had the rain event, the Sprint network in that area went down. And so we were not able to telemeter the data directly to UH, which sort of caused our PI to lose her mind. She was like, we need this data. But luckily, we have a backup. So even though if the telemetry goes down, the sensor itself is still monitoring the environment. And so we can go and upload the data directly from the sensor and then re-input it back into our data stream. And we can then go back and analyze the data. So on the same day, you can see where, due to heavy rainfall, if you look at the different parameters, you can see where temperature and salinity sort of drop off. So you have that colder water coming up from the valley or flowing down from the valley. It drops the salinity down, right? At the mouth of the IOOS, temperature goes down, and you can see a spike here in turbidity because all that sediment that's coming down, and then all the nutrients that's coming down also from the valley cause a spike in chlorophyll. The next day, there was a sewage spill. So the pipes ruptured in the IOOS, and you can see here the result of that. So sewage is something that we obviously don't like as humans. We don't want to be near it. Okay, but for microbes that live in the IOOS, they love it. It's like a buffet. It's like you treat us to dinner or lunch. For them, it's like a treat. So when there's a lot of sewage or nutrients in the water, their numbers multiply. So they grow, so they consume or uptake those nutrients. They grow in size, and then they divide. And so that division sort of takes off whenever there's a huge nutrient input into the system. And you can see here the spike in chlorophyll as a result of that sewage spill. And this is a notice from Clean Water Branch of the sewage spill. So you can see the spike in chlorophyll. And then you could also see, just because there's so many more cells in the water, and plus this combined with the sewage, a spike in turbidity also in the system. So we were able to pick up that data, even though in the previous slide, our telemetry had gone down, and we don't know why, by way of Sprint, we're still able to go back and get that data and then make that data available to the public. If I'm talking too fast, you guys can slow me down. If you have any questions, like our guest over here, you can always just raise your hand and ask. We have a turbidity plume model, right, which again, I was discussing with one of our guests. And it is a model that takes the turbidity values that we get from the mouth of the IOOS. And it takes that value and sends it to a model that Brian Powell's lab monitors and maintains. And that model takes our turbidity data and it takes other atmospheric and oceanographic data, so waves, wind activity, and it inputs it into the model. And when there's a heavy rainfall, it gives you an idea of where that groundwater plume will go once it leaves the IOOS. So is it going to go towards Hanauma Beach Park? Is it going to go towards Waikiki? And you guys are able to go onto the website after a heavy rain and check this particular page. If you're going to get into the water, then you can sort of get an idea of how long the plume will last and what direction it will go during the time that it's being sustained in our coastal waters. So it's a really, really helpful site. If you, like we surf over on the other side of Moana, but if you surf Bowls or Kaisers or anywhere close to Magic Island, it's really, really important to check this.
You validated this with like pictures and reverse, because you can see the color of them on the other.
Yes, you can see the color of groundwater. So we haven't done it specifically with Google Earth, but at times we've gone out. And so whenever we have had the heavy rains, we'll go out and we'll take pictures. Yeah, but we haven't done it through Google Earth, but that's a great idea. Yeah, we should have that. Oh, that's a good idea. Have that available. That's good. Any other questions? No. For the majority of the time that I've been with the group, we've had 7 sensors here in Hawaii, and we've had 7 in the Insular Pacific. But recently, we've pulled the plug on 2 of the sensors in the Insular Pacific. The one that's in CNMI and the one that is in Palau. And we've rededicated those 2 sensors to projects that researchers and natural resource managers want to do in the Insular Pacific. So now those 2 sensors are mobile. And so if you have a special project that you want to do, we focus primarily on the Insular Pacific because of the limited resources that one may have here. And so if you have a project that you want to do that's short term, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, we now have those 2 sensors available for you to deploy. So in this case, Kevin Rhodes in Ponape is doing research on spawning aggregation for groupers. And so he has the sensor here deployed on a buoy mooring system. I need to go now to check it and clean it. So the system, the buoy deployed here by the aggregation site, so that he can get an idea of what is going on or the water quality at the site for the groupers. And so this is something that we have available primarily for the Insular Pacific, but we also did a project on Lanai that is from the same subgroup of sensors. And so we are now able to, before all our sensors were fixed. They were at a moored site, they were fixed, and you could only get data from that site. But now we're, I guess, trying to be a little more flexible and making it available to different communities, in particular Insular Pacific, but we also do here in Hawaii. And with that, that's the end of my talk. Any questions? No? Yes?
2008, the oldest data you have?
Yes, so for the alloy, yes.
What about the other sites?
The other sites, 2008, 2009, I can get you exactly, hold on. So the Hawai'i 2008, Hilton Hawaiian Village, 2009, the Waikiki site, 2009, Wailupe, 2014, and Copahead Marina, 2011. So those are the dates that we started or deployed the sensors. So you have data going back to those.
So the Waikiki site's a CTD, just CTD?
Yeah, so the one in front of the aquarium and the one in front of Hilton Hawaiian Village are just CTV data.
How deep is it?
About a meter, so it's surface.
You can just swim right over it?
You can, yeah, if you know where it is, yeah.